I'd like to invite past CNS President Dr. Ali Rezai to the stage.
Good morning. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you Ashwini Sharan, who's the 68th president of the Congress of Neurological Surgeons and also the first Indian American president of the CNS. The early years for Ash. Ash was born in the Bihar region of India. His father was a civil engineer and his mother was a geography professor. And the family moved to the US when Ash was 10 months old. That's a picture of him right there at age 10 months. And then they settled initially in the Bronx and then moved to New Jersey after that. During these early years, Ash's mother began a new career from geography to studying computer science. That was more relevant that time, and she studied at NYU, and Ash's father became a successful civil engineer at the New York Transit Authority. Ash's parents exposed him to science and arts during these formative years, and Ash learned the value of education, hard work, and the importance of embracing new opportunities like his parents. In his childhood, Ash had a great talent and passion for technology, the traits that he holds today. And he started programming computers at age 7, amazing, and was controlling lights and devices at home from his Commodore VIC-20 that his parents got for him. And guess what his first job was at age 12? He was programming for a database for a local bank. And if that wasn't enough, at age 16, he was programming for ABC News. Ash was also an entrepreneur at a young age, fixing people's homes, chandeliers for the neighbors, tuning up cars, and building computers. He also obtained a prestigious scholarship from Governor Keene of New Jersey in 1987. Then he went after high school to enroll in the 6-year BA MD program at Boston University and UMDNJ, where he received numerous awards in math and science, and graduating in 1995. Despite excelling in science and medicine, Ash also had an interest in other areas. Does anybody know what career aspirations Ash had? Ash gave up to become a neurosurgeon. Well, he was interested with his best friend AJ, who's an interventional radiologist in the audience. They were interested in Hollywood, and they explored acting and dancing as a career, had a Bollywood club, rollerblade dancers, and they were spotted on more than one occasion performing, hoping to be invited to an audition for Bollywood TV. Here's one of those auditions. If you can get the... There's Ash right there. Okay. So Ash had a promising career, but eventually decided that neurosurgery was easier, and AJ decided that radiology was easier. I'm glad you made those decisions. So once the Hollywood career got out of Ash's system, it was time for him to get serious. And he married his lovely wife, Kanu, who is a successful medical oncologist and also a better dancer than Ash. Continuing on, Ash did his residency at Thomas Jefferson University, and then he did a fellowship at the Cleveland Clinic, also where another great life event, his first daughter, Isha, was born September 12th, 2001. Ash has been defined by many mentors who have had a tremendous influence along his path and career. They include Bill Buckeye, Robert Rosenwasser, our honored guest, Jewel Osterholm, Fred Simeone, Giancarlo Barolage is the guy who's kissing his head, and then Ed Benzel and many others. I got to know Ash when he did a functional fellowship at the Cleveland Clinic, and I was struck by his unique intelligence and tremendous energy. He picked up concepts very quickly, had great hands, and also he had tremendous depth of caring for his patients. He was always full of ideas and very creative and prolific, and over a few-month period, he wrote over 7 papers, 5 patents, and a successful R01 grant. So after finishing his fellowship, Ash went to Thomas Jefferson University, who has been a faculty there for the past 16 years. He's the residency program director and director of the functional neurosurgery and epilepsy. For those of you who don't know Ash, he's a world-class epilepsy surgeon, pain surgeon, and movement disorder surgeon. As I mentioned before, he's deeply compassionate, a physician, and cares tremendously about his patients. Another one of Ash's great passions is education. He's made an indelible impact on the training and thinking of students, residents, and colleagues across the world, and he's been a constant champion and a leader in the evolution of neurosurgical education. Few of his accomplishments: he has had over 150 peer-reviewed publications, 30 book chapters, and over 150 invited presentations. He's also a prolific inventor and innovator. He has an uncanny ability to see the future. He quickly understands, grasps, and embraces new technology and very quickly applies them for patient care. Ash has been a leader in organized neurosurgery for over a dozen years, serving in a countless number of committees, education, meeting committee, and many others. He's an energetic and inspirational leader who values the advancement of the younger generation and women in neurosurgery and neuromodulation. And he was the president of the North American Neuromod Society in 2015-17 and president of the South Asian Neurological Surgeon Society as well in 2013. And he is the president of the Congress of Neurological Surgeons in 2018. But it's not all about work with Ash. He enjoys life to the fullest and has fun at everything he does. He's fun to be around. He's an adventurer. He is diving with the sharks, riding elephants, river rafting, grade 4 or 5, which I don't go with him, wrestling tigers, charming snakes. You can see I'm behind him right there when he's trying to charm the snake, and also Ash the cowboy, among many other things. But if you're ever going to go on a trip with Ash, make sure that you have good life insurance and disability coverage. The one thing, however, Ash does not give up is his constant quest to become a Bollywood star. If you can get this, this is even at his daughter's sweet 16th birthday party, he takes over to be a Bollywood star. Okay, he was going to perform on stage in a short while. So he has a big audience, of course. But most importantly, beyond neurosurgery, Ash is a balanced guy and a family man. Balanced except when he's talking to Jim Harrop, gossiping here. You can see a picture with his wife here, and he's gossiping with Jim. But he enjoys life to the fullest with his wonderful wife, Kanu, and his 2 girls, Isha and Mansi, and his family, and the new addition to the family, Apollo, the dog. So in summary, Ash is a force of neurosurgery. He exemplifies passion, integrity, creativity, leadership, and innovation, and he has led a life of service and mentorship, and neurosurgery is a labor of love for him. I can go on forever highlighting his achievements and extolling his virtues, but before they yank me off the stage here, I want to make sure to say that he's also my great friend, and he's like a brother to me. Please join me in welcoming Ashwini Sharan, the 26th President of the Congress of Neurological Surgeons.
Thank you, Ali. I owe you tremendously for your support, your mentorship, your friendship, and you have become part of my family. And everybody should know that Ali also likes to dance behind the scenes. Before I start, 2 shout-outs, and I don't want to hear any dancing jokes from my people who are here for me. 2 shout-outs also to Dan Resnick, who has really believed in me, and to Robert Rosenwasser, my honored guest, who has provided tremendous support. I have had such great privilege in leading the Congress of Neurological Surgeons. So many people have worked with me to make this day happen. I present in front of you the Executive Committee for the CNS. These people are selfless. You don't realize how much work it takes to put a wedding on steroids on. Each one of these individuals has made this year, has given us the ability to move mountains. It's only working together that these kind of opportunities come. I've had an awesome time working with Ganesh, Alan, Jim Hara, Praveen Mumaneni, Steve Kalkanis. We are a part of a small-knit group of people that can actually help each other make great decisions in life. So to my officers, thank you for your support, and thank you to the hard times this year. I have so much deep love for my meeting committee that has made this day exceptionally memorable. When I got married, I was 25 years old and didn't have recollection of the event because you're too young to appreciate what that means. And today is a very different type of moment. And so Brian, Alex, Nader, thank you for making that possible today. You heard about the great accomplishments of Nick Bambakidis, who's our Educational Division Chair. And I call out both Nick and Dean Ashok Astagari in this because it is the business of the Congress of Neurosurgery. It's its education product. These gentlemen run a division of 100 different participants and volunteers. And Ashok has guided us through our ACCME accreditation and does not get the recognition and the detail that goes behind making education the way it is. I've had tremendous fun working with my editor-in-chief, Nelson Oyasiku, one of the most creative and articulate individuals there are, and Brandon, our managing editor, and keeping the journal robust and allowing us to spread the message. And the CNS headquarters staff, what a group of awesome people who spend 24/7, who believe in neurosurgery, non-neurosurgeons who believe in the vision of neurosurgery. Thank you, staff. I want you to pay attention because it says CNS CEO, because this woman single-handedly, this person runs our organization. You're going to see this name in the top executives of this country in the near future. We've had tremendous valued partners. I've loved working with Dan Barrow, Shelley Timmons, Alex Vlatka, Fred Meyer. Organized neurosurgery today has one voice. There's communication, not competition. And if there is competition, it's only to make it better. We are all working together for the future of neurosurgery. Great valued partners, our friends from Brazil, our friends from Japan. Thank you for supporting the Congress of Neurological Surgeons today and forever. And a special thank you and a call out to my members from ASAN, American Association of South Asian Neurosurgeons, where I first got my first leadership opportunity, and the Neurological Society of India. So many of you I know are here with your prayers and blessings for me, and I deeply appreciate that. Momo and Toto, my daughters and my wife, I couldn't be here without the support. My family, my parents, my staff at home, my residents, my faculty, my nurses, my friends, my best friends, my patients, my program coordinator, everybody who's given me the inner strength and soul to be here and have the strength to prepare this. And it's been fun. It's been really fun. So thank you. Wow, that was a lot. Are we ready to take off? I am so excited to be here to celebrate the knowledge and success of neurosurgery with you. I really believe that technology has and will continue to change the way neurosurgery is performed, and we will continue to deliver more superior patient outcomes. After today's story, what is Mission Neurosurgery? I will consider it a victory if you are again energized and are mobilized to direct tomorrow's changes. That's what I want. I will address the roles of visualization, robotics, and computers, and then focus on establishing our own roles, our 3 mission goals: leadership, patient empathy, and tools tailored for treatment. Basically, this is a story of how the exploration of space has allowed for a framing of the exploration of the mind. On September 12, 1962, President Kennedy gave a speech, Why the Moon, here in Houston, here at Rice University, and he was defining a single mission. Let's get safely to the moon and back. And he inspired our country to mobilize its talent, resources, to achieve that single goal. I hope that some of you have the opportunity to visit NASA. This has really resonated with me. I have read more about that JFK moment and discovered that it was less than 7 years later, less than 7 years, on July 20th, 1969, that Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface. Kennedy, in his speech, states, "We chose to go to the moon," among other things, but not because they are easy, but because they are hard, and that goal will serve to organize the best of our skills and energies. America achieved something that seems so formidable and complicated through its astronauts, who became a symbol that the impossible is possible. Remember, we, the neurosurgeons, are the astronauts of the central nervous system. Why do we perform neurosurgery? Not because it's easy, because it's hard. While America's space program was building in the 1970s, my parents were laying the foundation for my own mission. I grew up in the household in Bronx, like you heard, to 2 immigrant parents who gave me a Commodore VIC-20 and exposed me to computers and cutting-edge 1980s technologies. This was before the internet. But their hope for me was different, that I should become a doctor and embark on a more meaningful career. Fortunately, neurosurgery enabled me to have a career where I today implant chips and wires in the brain and the spinal cord. And I have made this my life's mission. As a functional neurosurgeon, I get the privilege of combining neurosurgery with engineering and computer technologies every day, and more importantly, helping make meaningful differences in people's lives. Now, every mission starts off with a set of leaders. Someone has to take charge, someone must have the vision, and establish a trajectory. This is what President Kennedy began. There must be operational leaders and inspirational leaders. And that someone must drive the mission forward, not give up, balance risks and fears. In space, there were Neil Armstrong, Valentina Tereshkova, and others. All in some way was the first leader on a journey, on a mission. The space program was a structured pursuit of purpose with a defined task. For us, to bring relevance, there was the likes of Walter Dandy, Harvey Cushing, Wilder Penfield, and others. They were removing tumors with their fingers. They were using pituitary forceps through the nose without modern lighting. And they were even performing exploratory craniotomies in the temporal lobe, looking for epileptic spots. Definitely balancing the risk without fear for managing diseases which may not have had any treatment in an era where half the patients might not even have survived. Now, neurosurgery has come a very long way since then, and I will cover visualization, the diagnostic piece, robotics, the action, and computer technologies, which is the data integration. Staring into space has helped us develop the concept of visualization. Tools have been developed spanning the centuries to see beyond the universe, starting with Galileo's handheld telescope and advancing all the way to the Hubble telescope. This has allowed us to nurture our curiosity. Seeing makes the unknown known, and so we can explore. The Doppler effect was described in 1842 and allowed estimation of the movement of celestial objects. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1. 2 American physicists monitored its radio transmissions and realized that because of the Doppler effect, they could pinpoint along a trajectory where the satellite was going to be. They got access to the UNIVAC computer, and from this emerged the modern GPS system. We rely on this technology daily. You see, location matters, and it matters even more in neurosurgery. In the same century, visualization science has revolutionized the course of medicine. The tools that we took for granted are worthy of Nobel Prizes. The brain, you see, is entirely composed of soft tissue that is not radiopaque. It remains essentially invisible to ordinary or plain X-ray examination. 2 Nobel Prizes have been awarded for imaging. In 1979, Cormack and Hounsfield received the Nobel Prize for CT scanning, and in 2003, Lauterbauer and Mansfield received the Nobel Prize for magnetic resonance imaging. Visualization revolutionizes understanding and revolutionizes surgery. It took neurosurgery a long time to integrate these methods of cranial navigation. How often did people say, I don't need that tool to find the tumor? And now, what operating room does not have such tools? Okay, but keep your eyes wide open. Today's visualization tool sets are phenomenal. They include better optics. Endoscopes are now bringing lighting deep into the brain at the source of visualization. Microscopic magnification allows us to see even blood flow in living tissue. It will be up to us to explore the power of these technologies. I believe visualization of tumor cells and dysplastic epileptic neurons will change the way we approach neuroimaging and surgery. Tomorrow, GPS technology will be integrated with surface scanning, and this will allow real-time co-registration and navigation and augmented reality. And it's going to allow us to see and understand and predict the unknown. It's going to eliminate the concept of surgical exploration. It's going to open up new corridors and approaches. What happens next? Neurosurgery requires precision while the public desires safety and reproducibility. Now, robots are integral in manufacturing cars and other consumer goods. They easily perform tasks over and over again. They allow cloning and reproducibility. Inherent in their engineering allows for a quality control process and products and moves, which can be measured for efficiency. And in general, they don't think. But I don't know if that's any longer true. There has been some massive breakthroughs in robotic space technology. In robotics, space technology has developed one of the most advanced robot arms, the Canada-2 arm on the International Space Station. This arm can snag satellites while traveling at over 17,000 miles per hour. Furthermore, we are anthropomorphizing robots, and they are competing with biological systems. Watch this guy doing, and he's so polite. The robots are being programmed with haptics, intuition, and other such additional features. He lets the other robot first. In today's operating rooms, robots are mainly passive. On the first pass, robots are holding endoscopes. They are integrating with navigation and helping to stabilize trajectories in stereotaxy. I will demonstrate that later. We will soon see convergence. Robots and visualization technologies are being integrated. Tomorrow's OR will be designed in this manner. Intra-op MRI, intra-op CT, fluoroscopy were tools which were all used. But as they combine with image processing technologies, their utility will be better defined. Today, other robots are augmenting endovascular surgeries and reducing vessel wall dissection. There are technologies which allow haptic feedback and remote navigation of endovascular catheters. Ultrasound and sensor integration is also simultaneously happening, which is the image on the bottom. This is going to allow haptic feedback, which is going to assist you during decompression and allow sensing of dura. Not too hard to imagine next, right? Now, don't think that robots are only about inserting pedicle screws. Now, most of you will say, I can insert screws fine without this technology. Wait 10 to 15 years. When all these technologies converge, it's the convergence of parallel technologies that allow for us to experience inflection points. Robots will become commonplace because of the complexity of surgery and healthcare. Automation must relieve personnel from mundane tasks and allow for high reliability for high-risk procedures. Robots are about predictability and safety. Robots will be the bridge that brings engineering process control into the operating room and increase efficiency and reduce fragmentation that exists from each individual doing it their own way in medicine. What else? Now, we are all familiar with the power of computers. Data management is allowing for seismic changes to occur in healthcare. And we are talking about EPIC, common data elements, DICOM, MR, CT, neurophysiology, and limitless other objects. Today, to process and draw conclusions and make diagnosis, we mainly use human cognitive computing power. But one point of reference before I proceed. I will refer to the scale of things. The term byte refers to storage, and the term flop is a unit of speed in operations. Now, we are all familiar, more or less, with the concept of gigabytes and terabytes today, but learn the next 1,000-fold increases of petabyte and exabyte. I wonder how many people know how big a transistor is and how big a neuron is. A transistor can be manufactured on the scale below 100 nanometers, while a neuron is 1,000 times bigger. A neuron is between 60 to 100 micrometers. It's amazing what engineering is accomplishing. Now, don't be worried. The calculated storage capacity of the human brain might be on the order of 2.5 petabytes. If we assume that 100 billion neurons with dendrites assimilating connections from over 1,000 other neurons, without accounting for the effects of microproteins and DNA, which may actually be more augmenting, we get a conservative estimate of 2.5 petabyte storage capacity. To give you some concept of the significance of this, the Hubble telescope generates about 10 terabytes of new data every year. That's basically 4,000 photos every day for a year. Something like the entire Avatar movie needed 1 petabyte of storage to render those graphics. We are all witnessing the revolution in electronic storage capacity and see the gap closing fast. These racks of computers, which are designed with this type of capacity. By many reasonable estimates, the computing power of the human brain may be as high as 1 exaflop. You see, we can analyze every scene, every second, and react in real time. Today's supercomputers are in the range of 20 to 200 petaflops and take up very large rooms. However, there are estimates that exascale computing power will be achieved by 2020. The same processes that it takes computers to perform simple math calculations, although at the speed of light, can take a few million steps, but can be done in a few hundred neuronal transmissions. An action potential is on the scale of a millisecond. But don't lose sight of what IBM Watson has done in 2011, and AlphaGo, a computer program developed by Google DeepMind, has done. The advantage that these digital systems are that they can be copied and cloned and mass-produced. And of course, the brain is not the best at storing images, even remembering names and details, and may even have particular inconsistencies. But the tools are there to study the mind. And we, in neurosurgery, will be the interface and become the biological engineers who will be part of this team that will make this happen. Epilepsy neurosurgery is something that I have the privilege of performing, and it requires a team approach. Epilepsy neurologists, physiologists, neuropsychologists, MRI specialists, we work together and we implant patients like this with grid and strip electrodes on a hypothesis aimed to find a seizure onset zone. These patients stay in the hospital for 2 to 3 weeks, and they have been helping us to explore the brain. While the patients remained in the hospital, our patients, participated in research. They were playing time-locked computer games, which I'll walk you through if you look at the top. The patients would be challenged to memorize word lists. They would be distracted by math problems, and they would be tested on their ability to recall. So we studied encoding, distraction, and recall. This has taught us so much about human memory. A fortunate event occurred in 2014. DARPA issued a challenge, a moonshot competition, which desired the development of a memory-augmenting prosthetic to help study and treat Alzheimer's disease and TBI. Mike Kahana, a neuropsychologist who had been working with us for the last 5 years, engineered an 8-center network group to address this challenge. I had the opportunity of participating on that great research team. Prior to the DARPA grant, we had ramped up over 4 years and enrolled over 80 patients. With a network of collaborators, we enrolled in the following 4 years 360 patients and compiled 800 stimulation sessions among 45,000 electrode positions in the brain. Now, what I am sharing on the screen are real-time electrical high-frequency areas corresponding to the patient events of distraction, encoding, distraction, and recall. and will help you understand that. Now watch the green bar. When you see the word on, you see the occipital cortex light up and really quickly get into the hippocampus. And then there's repetition and activation of Broca's and Wernicke's areas until the word is off. With some certainty now, we have biological markers of word recall and possible attention. Remember, these are electrical activities, so they're real time. We can mathematically predict what is the chance of a person remembering a word with this technique. We then systematically created a search and seek methodology to create a paradigm where memory might be augmented with electrical stimulation. And we were able to do that about half the time. Now, this is a skull X-ray of something called stereo EEG. This is the next generation of tools. This is DBS on steroids. This is going to further unlock brain mapping. Many centers are already shifting to this paradigm. The concept is to thread a 0.8 millimeter electrode all along the epileptic networks to study seizure onset zones and spread patterns. This can only be done with today's modern technologies by using visualization, image processing, computing capabilities. All these tools working together are allowing us to perform these operations in 2 to 3 hours safely. The bleeding rates are published at less than 1%. Now, the next is a really speed view to give you only a flavor of how this happens so fast. Planning starts with a gadolinium MRI and an angiogram so we can see the blood vessels. We segment out the blood vessels. We study slice by slice. We coupled with robots to install anchor bolts through which we thread wires through the networks of the brain's vasculature. The patients barely describe pain from these 3 millimeter incisions. Every day while waiting for seizures, we conduct small memory experiments. We generate about 20 gigabytes of data that must be analyzed. And 10 years ago, this type of processing was taking days, not hours. With imaging, visualization, robotics, computer technologies, and analytics, new fields are emerging. Just like stroke has become a neurosurgical remediable problem, memory disorders and other restorative procedures are on the horizon. The people in this room have the ability to make such a difference for patients with neurological disorders. Don't lose the wonder of exploration. We have the privilege of working in the operating room, interfacing, engineering, and operating on the mind. To succeed even more, we need to further 3 other missions, which have been alluded to. And now I will focus on leadership, transforming lives with patient empathy, and tomorrow's tools. I want to incept some thoughts into your mind. This year, I read Nudge Theory by Richard Thaler, a Nobel Prize winner in behavioral economics. Thaler addresses things like how an opt-out box for organ donation can make such a huge difference in the availability of organ donors all over the world, or how a small pin can start a conversation. It can serve as a nidus for inquiry when somebody asks why. See, a nudge can serve as a force that can overcome inertia. Isn't the journey of neurosurgery something that we all embarked upon when we were graduating high school, college, med school? Why did we choose such a hard path? Neurosurgery training is very, very hard. The majority of the people in this room have spent between 23,000 hours if you work 80 hours a week, to 33,000 hours if you work between 100 to 120 hours a week in training. Doesn't that amaze you? The 10,000 hour rule times 2, times 3? The community around us does not know of the journey that we have endured. We should be proud. I was lucky enough to have a co-pilot on this mission, Kanupriya, my wife for 22 years. I say that because we all need partners, support, children to remind us of the future, a way to remain balanced on this arduous journey. The people in this room are really the same. We have the same principles, same thoughts, same values, same dreams. We share neurosurgery. Being connected as neurosurgery prevents our burnout. But the training is transformative. The operative performance must be perfect every time. This is the beginning of the mission. Become neurotic, a perfectionist even. Read like a maniac. Operate, operate, operate for all the right reasons. You stay highly focused and develop a very unique skill set, which we know is valued. You graduate and you enter a new but complicated world of healthcare, which also must be mastered. This is a maze for physicians, and it's even a larger maze for patients. It's a system that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. To navigate your way out of this maze, you need the support of teams. You need new skills. You have to learn what the value of communication means. You realize the complexity of management. You watch how hospitals require so many specialists, intensivists, hospitalists, everything. To take care of the ever-increasing problem of health, you observe how decisions and resources are allocated. And you know that neurosurgery is so much more than an operation, of which we are the pilot. Neurosurgery requires leaders. We have earned that respect and must share that respect. We must inspire others and recognize their contributions. Remember, neurosurgery now requires a team-based approach. You are positioned so well to be that leader. The new metrics of success is not a successful operation, but a great patient outcome. Perfect performance from the day the patient enters the clinic to the day of completed recovery is what is required and what is expected. So mission number 2, empathy. What is it that binds all of us together? It is the difficult treatment of neurosurgical diseases. We take care of very difficult patients and solve people's problems. We take care of people. It's our patience and empathy for them that's the most important. Any one day, it could be you. I like this quote from Maimonides. It says what I want to say. Save the world, save a life, reduce pain. It speaks to neurosurgery. Give hope, inspiring young people. It speaks on the acts of kindness. The public speaks of firefighters. We, as neurosurgeons, provide a very different type of support for this country and the world. We deal with emergencies. We wake up in the middle of the night to save someone who was in an accident and has head trauma. We come in with our teams to remove a blood clot from stroke. In other worlds, we repair spinal fractures and decompress the spinal cord. We stop bleeding through transsphenoidal approaches to return vision. We are society's safety net, and we should be proud of these accomplishments and not complain. This service is what directly contributes to our value. We make people walk by decompression. We reduce pain, we stop epilepsy, we rewire Parkinson's disease, we remove brain tumors, we clip aneurysms, we divert CSF, and we restore health. We operate on a system which has low tolerance for mistakes. We are like astronauts. We are a small group of people who are on a big mission. I think the members in this room are actually heroes. This is a picture of Pascal Jabor. I'm so proud of training him. He saved this young lady's life from a ruptured AVM while she was pregnant, and she is returning to him 8 years later. She delivered safely and recovered, and her son's name is Jefferson. Pascal and I both work at Thomas Jefferson University. Please don't ever get so bogged down that you look at our work as just work. No matter how many years you've been in practice, don't ever forget the impact you are having. In the same vein, don't ever forget the credit your patients themselves deserve. Our patients have incredible physical and emotional strength. I am so in awe of some of them. Get their permission, share their stories, perhaps on Twitter. Their messages inspire. I bet most patients will allow us to share their stories. Make this a disciplined ritual. Talk about it with your colleagues as well as your family and friends. How many of you have children who are interested in a future career in medicine? I know I do. Tell them about your patients. Show them what medicine is about. It's more than illness and science. Medicine is about people. Mission number 3, tomorrow's tools. Don't just adopt technology that is already available to us. Think about how it could become better enhanced and better and make that happen. Integrate that technology and develop the next generation of tools which we will use going forward, and I will share some of these technologies which are pushing the boundaries in neurosurgery. The Stentrode, which you'll hear about in another session, is a stent with active electronics, also developed with DARPA research. It's going to allow interpretation of EEG signals today. And one day, we'll actually have pressure sensors and glucose sensors to study every nook and corner of the human anatomy. There's also studies underway using vagal nerve stimulation to mimic the effects of a functional splenectomy. A treatment for rheumatoid arthritis and inflammatory bowel diseases is on the horizon. In centers in Europe and in the US, 3 to 4 stereotactic catheters are being placed in the brainstem to treat children who have inoperable tumors like DIPG. Other centers are implanting stimulators on the sphenopalatine ganglion to treat cluster headaches, and this technology is a future to opening up the brain-blood barrier. In other centers, they're using implanted prosthetics for blindness, biological manipulation of tissues, and stem cells that we heard about. We will be a part of all these discoveries, and we will continue to win. This is a final video. I was always amazed and might not have understood what it means when you see a group of people win. NASA was able to target an SUV-sized vehicle called Curiosity. They hurled it through space, 250 million miles away from the Earth. And they landed it on Mars in 2 years. They funded a 10-year mission for only $2.5 billion. That's only $1 per citizen in this country over 10 years. Now you will see what happens when Curiosity lands. The room is going to scream in jubilation.
Signal to us, you remain strong.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
This is human energy. It's tangible. We all feel it. Humanity, NASA, achieved the impossible. That's what's driving that happiness, that greatness. See, the impossible is possible when we work together. We can do it. So back to the beginning. What is mission neurosurgery? It's not about stopping at the moon or landing on Mars. It is about unlocking the secrets of the brain for a better future for the health of humanity. When JFK gave his famous speech in 1962, many people thought that getting to the moon would be impossible. But astronauts proved them wrong. As neurosurgeons, we are also able to do what many people think is impossible. We are the astronauts of the central nervous system. Thank you very much.